we launched this whole program, and Tim will do a better overview in just a minute. But I launched a little social media campaign to reach more patients, and it kind of went viral on a platform I'd never been on before, TikTok. Of all things, I thought, man, that was just for young people to be on there doing dances and stuff, but there's actually a business side of it too as well. And I didn't realize how fast it would grow, and now have over 100,000, about 117,000 plus people that follow that content. And so be going live on TikTok, and then hopefully I'll be able to reverse the screen. You guys can see my phones right here, so that I want them to see our esteemed colleagues here on the WellWaveNOW platform. So I'll go ahead and start the live, and then we'll kick it off and let Tim do the introduction. So
healthcare disruptors. My. Yeah. I'm looking forward to learning a lot here.
Yeah, so going live on TikTok now, as well as doing this live on our platform here for Zoom. And let me flip the screen around, and we'll do the introductions. All right. Yep. Welcome everyone. Quite a few people joining live now. And this isn't quite as easy as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be able to see everybody coming on at the same time, but let me turn it around. All right, Tim.
All right, welcome to our guest. Thank you for joining us, and what's on our WellWaveNOW discussion. And so with us to do that, our sort of panel are your community leaders. Our number one, who is Breck Rice, who is also known as the healthcare disruptor, who is an advocate and innovator in community wellness, as well as making sure people make optimal use of their medication. Then we've got Dr. Bob Levine, brain researcher and renowned expert in drug-free pain elimination. And then myself, Tim Daniels, I'm a wellness plan manager and a well-being technologist on that. And so we'll together we form the leaders of this WellWaveNOW community group. And what our purpose really is to help people live better physically for longer and improve their odds of longevity. Do that with in a drug-free manner, or what we advocate on it. And so as to make sure that we're not here to replace anybody's conventional healthcare providers. We're here to complement them. There's so much more to well-being in terms, whether from stress management to diet to other things you can do for pain, to be able to perform well, that we think that information needs to be out here. So as part of what we do to serve the community, we come on and hold this meeting weekly to be able to provide free advice and to answer questions and to take guidance from our guests. So I ask you to join on that. And that guidance is what topics are important to you? What questions do you have? How can we do a better job on reaching people to be able to get that wellness information out to them that we think that we know they need to have and want to do that in an efficient, productive manner. Today, we've chosen to speak about and lead a little collaboration. So for those of you who are able to and are on our platform here and can, if you've got questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. If you've got on our TikTok, they can still get questions to you, Breck. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'll figure out how to get to them.
All right.
I had to turn my screen around so they can see you. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, and just a little slide on that, Breck, I mentioned that, we want to make sure we reach as wide an audience as we can. And Breck, as the healthcare disruptor, has quite a bit of following out on TikTok. So we want to make sure to try and find a way to incorporate serve that audience as well. And so we're working on that. Please bear with us if we have a little technical difficulty on that, and we ask your forbearance on that. But for those of you who can, you can put your questions in the chat, and we'll address those as we can. We usually like to try and go about 25 minutes on just discussion and sort of guiding the discussion, and then we stick around to answer questions the latter part of that, and then we stick around if people want to for another half hour or so to address the questions as we can on that. So we chose today to talk about pulse electromagnetic field therapy, also known as PEMF. And I'm going to ask each one of my colleagues here to talk about a little bit why we all agree this is very important for people to hear and to understand. And so I want comments from the healthcare disruptor and Bob as to why, from their perspective, it's so important for people to understand this technology. Okay, Breck, you want to go ahead?
Sure, be happy to. So first off, my first introduction with PEMF was probably about 6 years ago. My niece was going through radiation treatment and chemotherapy and everything for a brain tumor, and was at St. Jude's medical facility for children. Wonderful, wonderful program. They were able to completely cure her of her cancer. It was such a miracle, such a blessing to our family. But all of that radiation that she took had really made it difficult for her to breathe. There was a lot of scar tissue around her chest area. And so she was really having difficulty breathing. She needed to be on oxygen all the time, had to have a portable, oxygen tank to go with her anywhere she went. And here she is, just, barely getting into her early 20s, and was already, having to worry about being too far away from oxygen tank. Heard about a doctor up here in Scottsdale, Arizona, who, with one of his PhD friends, they had developed their own electromagnetic energy program or system, a PEMF system. Hadn't gone through FDA approval or anything like that. They were just doing some treatments. We heard some good things. We said, hey, let's give it a shot. So we brought our niece out here. She lived out of state. We brought her here, and the treatments actually worked. It opened up her lungs. It allowed her to breathe. They gave her a prototype to take back to Nevada, where she's from. She called it her magic box. So that was my first introduction to PEMF. And I started doing a little more research and found out there's some great information and articles out on PubMed and other places. And so I started to get involved in getting the system myself, trying it out. I don't have anything debilitating at all, but I did inherit RLS, or restless leg syndrome, from my mom. My mom struggled with it all of her adult life, and I had it for about 20 years. And after working with Tim Daniels here, who's an expert in PEMF, he guided me through some therapies of what I needed to do with that device. And I used it for two times a day. So I wasn't just getting an occasional treatment. I was really diligent about using the device 2 times a day. In about a week and a half, I completely eliminated something I'd had for 20 years, and that's restless leg syndrome. So that's been my experience, Tim.
All right, thanks. Dr. Bob. You're on mute, Dr. Bob.
Okay, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Yeah, PEMF is a phenomenal way to support people in healing and achieving optimal health. And I have also had personal experience with it. And there's many PEMF devices, and I want to encourage anybody on the line who wants to know more about PEMF devices to get a hold of Tim Daniels, because he's an expert in that. What I want to say about, I like to think of healing in several ways. You can heal from the outside in, meaning maybe you can work on the exterior soft tissue of the body, or chiropractic, or other ways, deep tissue manipulation. You can heal from the inside out, or you can heal from a combination of both inside out and outside in therapies. And so I consider the PEMF primarily healing from the inside out, which is really challenging to do, in my opinion. And there's several ways to heal from the inside out. And PEMF therapy is, to me, one of the keys. And the reason is because it's been shown through research that the PEMF signals increase the blood's microcirculation. So the smallest capillaries of the body where the blood goes through becomes less sluggish and moves more efficiently. And that means you're going to get more oxygenation of tissues, more removal of toxins from the tissues. And that's really beneficial. So in my experience, I just want to say that I had, for 10 years at least, I had what I would call lung congestion. When I would lay down at night to go to sleep. On exhale, I could hear a wheezing and feel a vibration in my chest. And all of the medical doctors that I went to over years, when I brought it up, they list lungs on the table. And they say, well, you sound fine. Everything's good. You don't have to worry about this. Everybody has a little bit of that. And I thought, no, everybody probably does not have a little bit of this. But so I had to find an answer, but I couldn't. So that was it. Anyway, I bought the Beamer because I heard all these incredible stories about it. And I talked to the people who had those incredible stories, like Breck and Tim. And so I bought it as a longevity device. And what I found was 2 months after using it twice a day, which is what is recommended. I used it once in the morning, once in the evening you use it for somewhere between 8 and 20 minutes, depending on how long you want to be on it. And I noticed that after 2 months, without even looking for it, my lung congestion was gone. No more wheezing. It was crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So I really appreciated what the PEMF mat provided me. And so I personally, I think that one of these mats should be in everybody's home because it's one of the ultimate longevity devices that I use in my practice with clients.
Right. Thanks, Bob. And there are multiple good devices out there, and that we work on it. Then for me, and again, as you guys go along, people have questions, please put those in the chat. If they work into the flow, we'll answer them as we go. If not, we'll try and get to them a little bit later here. We will get to them later. For me, I'm on career 2.5 now, but career 2, I was running an in-home care agency for the elderly that operated in 3 states. And it was what was called kind of personal care, just bathing, grooming, toileting in one state, but it was medical in another. Love the business in terms of the sort of satisfaction I got in helping people, but I also came to understand that it was a help people cope business. And I saw so many people themselves, families, and even healthcare providers kind of give up on those people from their late 70s to 90s and beyond. Average age in there that I had was probably about 85 years old. From my background, other things, I kind of intuitively felt that people, they still could get better. And it was more than, and so as I got to exit that business is when I started looking around for things that could help people of all ages. And that's when this PEMF, came to my attention. And as I looked at it and saw it, I said it kind of had the trifecta that I was looking for, meaning that it had good underlying science as to rationale to why it should work. It's been looked at. You call this frequency. It is called frequency medicine, hence the F in the PEMF. It's also called biotech wellness and things of that nature. So the Japanese had been came to learn the Japanese have been experimenting with frequency medicine and effective frequencies on body since around World War II, and it spread from there. And so I saw it had a long history, and that's been some of the science around it was good. I found that NASA was using PEMF to help on the space station, et cetera. Found that it first got approved by the FDA in the late 70s after work by a guy named Dr. Andrew Bassett from Columbia University Medical School, where he showed that it provided healing to bone fractures, which weren't responding to other types of treatment. So that led into the studies. So we had good science is why it should work. Had good studies. In fact, if you go up to PubMed.gov, I like to follow what both Ronald Reagan and the CIA said is trust but verify. So I ask you to kind of trust us a little bit here as we talk to you, but verify it. And one of the ways you can verify this is go up to PubMed.gov, which is maintained by the National Institute of Health. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, I just put in a query, said PEMF on that. And I think it was 876 responses or returns came for that. Now, I go through and verify that each one of them indeed did mention PEMF, so no, but I'll round it down and say probably there were 800 references up there about it. And so that's a place where it's supposed to be the gold standard for studies, double-blind, peer-reviewed, placebo-controlled. So, and then the third part of that trifecta came as I started looking around and seeing testimonials on it, just over and over, just tons of them. And you can go out to YouTube and put in PEMF and find tons of testimonials. So science, clinical studies, testimonies had that. And then I came to understand that it worked primarily without any adverse side effects on it. So that's where it became, I said, I got to learn more about this and dive in, and came to understand some of the things that Dr. Bob and Breck talked about. This is good. The body heals the body from the inside out, activates things at the electrical level of body. In my opinion, the body is first electrical, then it becomes chemical. So it helps maintain those electrical processes as we age. So, and it was good for longevity because of the microcirculation, et cetera. So that's what got me into it, to take a look at it. And then I started seeing remarkable things on each one of those dimensions that we talked about happening with people that had had strokes and brain injuries associated with them for a while, and also had limited movement, and saw that being improved after six to 10 years, still then coming back for improvement. Seeing people with neuropathy from all different types is one area which Bob can certainly talk with the work that he does, whether it was chemo-based neuropathy, statin-based, diabetic neuropathy, seeing people making remarkable strides on that. So all that said, boy, I gotta really dive into this. And then as I was using it on other people, and also started putting it in the hands of, I like to put it in the hands of conventional health providers. And so when they would listen to me, then they would give me their toughest patients to work on, and seeing those results that I really need to use it on myself here a little bit. And started seeing some good results. And I'm a collegiate wrestler with ripped up knees. So using it on my knee, I got and arthritis and other things that set in over time and build up on it. Muscle knots were broken up, scar tissues were broken up on my right knee, improving my range of motion by 50% in that one. And then also, I'm an old Army brat. My father had always taught the 5 kids of us to memorize everything. So I had things memorized. So this was even more dramatic for me than my knee. I used to have memorized my driver's license, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, probably 30 to 40 of those things up there just at my command. Won't drag you through how it became a problem, but I started having problems with that, and so I could not recall those, and even worse, couldn't rememorize those. It took about 6 months of using the PEMF and applying it. And I'm sitting in my bank and I'm saying, well, what's going on here? And what was that? I was making a deposit without pulling out that deposit slip that I always carried around in there. Bank account number was back. Next day, I said, let me try this out. Out of something to buy on the internet. And there, my credit card number, CVV, expiration date was all right there back at my command. Now, I never did get back to where I had 40 of those things saved up there, but I go from 0 to about 20, 25? Absolutely. So that really just started to impress upon me that this is all those things triangulate to say this is the technology that people have to I believe people have to understand, have to evaluate for themselves and make informed decision about. Okay. So Bob, I'll come back to you for a couple of things you say. So on longevity, and let's point through that. What have you found, or what do you think, and what's your view on some of the keys to longevity? Yeah, you're on mute, Bob.
So sorry. So number one for me always is the number 1 and 2 and 3, I guess, are stress relief, complete stress relief, not stress management, but really eliminating the chronic stress issues, right? Number 2 is some kind of reasonably good, proper diet. It doesn't have to be the best of the best. It just has to be reasonably good. I always say that somebody who's got almost zero stress in their life and a terrible diet is going to live longer than somebody who has all kinds of stress in their life and they have the best diet, because stress to me is number 1. However, some people disagree with me on that, but it's just, I use that example to talk about the importance of relieving stress, really eliminating stress. And, and then good nutrition is important, really important. So getting with somebody who is an expert in nutrition can be valuable. The next thing is, in my opinion, is the body structure. You got to take care of the body structure, because so many people have problems with, chronic headache, neck pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain, hip pain, all these different plantar fasciitis, all these different kind of pain issues that I deal with every day with my clients and help them eliminate that through teaching them what they need to know and do to become their own healers. Because it's really, people have to heal themselves. There's no question about that. If people aren't healing themselves, they're not going to heal, really, in my opinion. And then the fourth thing where PEMF is such a big factor is taking care of the internal organs, and PEMF signal is so valuable for that, with increasing, microcirculation and getting more oxygen to tissues, increasing people's energy, increasing the removal of toxins. It's just so important. And Tim, you brought all that out when you described a little bit about how the PEMF signal works. So those are, and then relationships, communication, love, you got to have all that stuff going on at the same time. So when you talk about longevity, I talk about those at least 5 components.
Absolutely. Now the reason I asked that because I do want to know and share that and get your view on that.
Exclamation mark. Thank you for your support. Period.
Okay, we had a little background noise there. Sorry, everyone. So, but I asked you that now. So, but because also, aside from, I haven't found a way that the PEMF serves in its purpose in the love and social relationships you mentioned. I guess just kind of taking little sessions together will help. But in every other category you talked about, PEMF is shown to help. It is a beautiful component of stress relief, the oxygenation that it provides to the head and the relaxation. It's been shown. And for a couple of devices, the FDA has even assented and said that that's one of the approved or cleared benefits of it that they will allow to be stated. You take a look at diet. That ties in with your comment on microcirculation. So if you're eating well and the blood flow that is improved by PEMF, what that does, that improves the distribution of nutrients. Part of that, you're also getting more oxygen to the cells. When the cells get better oxygen, they function better, so the uptake of nutrients work better. And I want to make sure that I don't forget in one comment on this and turn to Breck. Breck and I also often talked about drugs and how they can be used optimally. And I think, Breck, that brings to mind some things that you found out on how PEMF can play in that as well.
Yeah, and I think back to your original question about how PEMF is improving the overall healing or wellness is, just think about any type of injury. If you have more microcirculation, you have more blood flow, you have more oxygen and nutrients going to that wound site, absolutely it's going to heal faster. If you can get the infection and metabolic waste and that moved through and pushed out through your cleansing process of your circulatory system, absolutely you're going to heal faster. So just in that, being able to improve that vasomotion and getting to the actual microcirculation, which is key, right? Because you think about our cardiologists that do amazing work. They save lives every day, right? But they can really only effectively work with about 24% of the entire circulatory system. So the majority of that circulatory system is the microcirculation that they can't do anything with. They have no way of taking it to the very end of the road, right? And PEMF and some of these amazing devices out there have that ability. Some can improve that microcirculation by 30%. Wow, it's amazing. So being able to get 30% more blood and oxygen to your capillaries, to your cells. But where that also, back to your second point then, Tim, on where that helps with medications and understanding that medications need to be able to be absorbed to be able to utilize them. And sure, a lot of genetics comes into play, and that's why you hear me talk a lot about pharmacogenomics and getting, finding out what your genetic makeup is and understanding literally how well you can metabolize a medication that you've been recently prescribed is very key to that, personal medicine approach. But for those medications to be able to actually be absorbed and used and brought to your whatever that area is that it's needing to affect, makes it that much more effective. So should be a process with, with any medication, right? Back to Dr. Bob's point, everyone should have PEMF in their home. But, to using it in conjunction with trying to get the best out of a prescription medication, it's absolutely has a place.
Right. So I agree. So you've got the things you're
Tim.
talking about. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I just want to comment. I want to throw something in there because you said that the PMS signal really may not do a lot for relationships and communication. but I want to just expand everybody's thinking because, one of the biggest problems that people have in relationship and communication is the stress factor and the pain factor. So, and with the PEMF signal being helpful for both relieving stress and eliminating pain over time as you work with that PEMF signal, that can actually get people. It's easier to be in a better mood. It's easier to be express being loving when you're stressed out and you're in pain.
Beautiful.
I've been there before with all of my football injuries and hip and back problems, etc. It's really challenging to generate being loving and joyful when you're in pain and stressed out. So I believe the PEMF signal will actually help in every one of the areas that we've talked about so far, Tim.
Beautiful. I'm glad you went that direction, Bob, into the spiritual side, I'll call it, of intimacy and other part, because I thought we were going to go down a discussion of PEMF helping on the physical side, which it can, but when needed. But I didn't know. But we're a family show here, so so I didn't want to go too far that. But
we'll have to let people just extrapolate on their own in their mind. Yeah,
extrapolate from that
And Tim, how many people have you treated with ED?
Quite a number. Yeah, but
Breck, is that an unrelated comment or is that related? I don't know.
I don't know. You guys were talking about relationships.
How beautiful.
Yeah, so you've made the connection to relationships and in a good way. That's good. And so you can see on the other longevity. So certainly with the diet, certainly getting the most out of your medications and effectively using that and optimizing it. To the organs, stress, and the body structure as you talk about. Certainly just as I mentioned earlier on, if even you go into structure, where PEMF was shown to help with bone fractures. So what's that get into? That gets into bone formation. There are things called osteoclasts, cleaning out old bone, osteoblasts that help build the new, and there's a modulation between all those. PEMF helps with that. There are people that have had all spinal challenges to this, from scoliosis to stenosis to things of that nature is helped with. And so on and on and on. It does even help with the structure of it, because it works our work on that cellular level. You talk about the neuropathy and the tissues and nerves on that. So that's also structure. So you get that. So with PEMF, you're starting right at that cellular level, better cells, the better tissues, the better organs. Bob, would you have your hand up to make a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to get really practical here now. We've given a lot of great information about PEMF and all the different conditions that it's been known and proven to help, both medically, scientifically. Getting really practical, the reason I love the PEMF signal and the mats that generate those signals is because you can lie on them for 2 times a day for 8 to 20 minutes, whatever your choice is. I did it for 8 minutes a day, twice a day, and that's all you got to do. Nothing else. Are you kidding me? It's so easy. Compliance is simple. In fact, some of these mats have sleep programs where you can put it on your bed, go to sleep, and it runs you through a cycle before you go to bed as you're going to sleep, and then you sleep, and then it goes through a signal as you're waking up. It's fantastic. So that's the practical side of this thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, there were the 2 points that I wanted to make about that we hadn't touched on yet. So I'm glad you brought it up. Was the sleep, the benefits that you get from sleep, and then the other is from recovery. Many professional athletes that are using this for recovery. And these are, world-class athletes. I've got, I'll share a link in the chat here of the Walsh girl, gold medalist, Olympic gold medal sand volleyball. She plays pro now on the pro circuit, and Carrie Walsh, and I'll put that link in there, her talking about that. So yeah, what are the real benefits there? Why is that such a recovery, Tim, for our athletes?
Well, what it does, one, it helps get the lactic acid out for the athletes for recovery on that. It really, the PEMF usage, there's a thing called ATP. You see people, I don't know, some triphosphate. You see a lot of people running around taking those supplements. There's been some of the PEMF devices have been shown to have double-digit improvement in the production of ATP. So you're really regenerating energy. You're getting the lactic acid out of the system. You're helping the relaxation. So you're speeding through the inflammation process if there's been some injury. So it's really beautiful for recovery. But it's by the same token, it also helps those athletes. I used to do a lot with current competitive athletes, and I switched more into the retired professional athletes, helping them feel brand new. But just as if you think about everything we've talked about today, whether it's from the medication to better medication effectiveness, whether it's better diet, whether it's better sleep, that's the spectrum of what an athlete needs to perform. And PEMF helps across that. They focus on that recovery, just as we brought up here. I like to expand their thinking to say, what do you need as an athlete? You need better strength. Well, this helps with the strength. Helps you avoid injury. Well, this maintains what they call elasticity in the small tissue, so you avoid injuries. It helps you heal faster from those smaller injuries and from the larger injuries. While you heal from the minor ones, there's a couple of professional soccer teams or doctors have said, hey, look, it helps heal those minor ones to reduce the larger ones. You get the larger ones, you heal faster from that, etc. So, but across that spectrum of an athlete needs, from sleep to better nutrition to avoiding injury, recovery faster from injury, better training, it helps across that entire spectrum. Now, as Bob talks about why he likes it in his life, and another reason I do, think about that. That's the same thing I think each and every one of us want in our own daily life. How do you avoid injury, recover faster from injury, maintain health, get the most out of what we eat? That's what PEMF enables for us on a daily basis. And to Bob's point, it's very easy to comply with. All you have to do is just lay down on one of these things, and it's very, very gentle. And that's the other thing. There are some PEMF devices out there that vibrate, and I think it's more from a fact to assure somebody that they're doing something. The ones that I like or don't do that, and they're a results therapy, not a feel something therapy. And so we use very gentle on the body. You lay there, and the signals just sent to your body, which it understands and responds to. So great point, Bob on the ease of compliance with it, and Breck certainly great on the performance and other parts of it.
Yep. Well, we've blown through that half hour pretty quickly. Let's open it up and get to any questions that folks might have. Please put those in the chat.
Well,
so we can
one,
see
one thing I want to add while they're doing that is that so when I'm working with clients in person in Southeast Florida, I'll often, and I do work with teaching people how to move properly in three-dimensional space, so they're performing the physical activities of daily living properly. And also I do neuromuscular movement re-education, and the people do a lot of that lying down on their back, for instance, and on their stomach. So I can put the people on a mat, on a massage table, for instance, while I teach them. And so they can be doing two things at once. They can be getting a PEMF therapy session while I'm teaching them how to manage these, to perform these, physical activities of daily living properly, and also to perform the neuromuscular re-education routines properly. So, and release these muscles, which almost everybody has tension in the back of the neck and the shoulders because of the forward head posture and all the computing and the phones and everything else. So it's really valuable if you can find a practitioner that has a PEMF device. You can actually get treated by them, especially an acupuncturist. That's a phenomenal combination. Massage therapist, another phenomenal combination. Soft tissue manipulation expert, another great combination. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's a good point. I spend, because of as Bob talked to and Breck talked to, we all want, three of us, we have this in our life, we use it daily, and that's what I would want everybody to do for the longevity aspects and for the performance aspects of it. But I also because I want the impact to have on people's wellness. I also spend time putting this in the hands of health and wellness providers. So it's very good that Bob brought up those areas. This is used everywhere from oncologists to Reiki practitioners use it. So it's one of the few things that conventional, integrative, and alternative providers all utilize as either a primary or adjunctive therapy in many cases with it. And we talked to the fact the ultimate is you have one in your home, use it twice a day. But as Bob talked to, and hence why so many providers are able to help as well, is people coming in twice a week can get dramatic therapy on acute and chronic challenges that they have on that. Okay.
So we did have one question in the chat I responded to, talking about which PEMF device do we recommend. Brim Wellness, of course, we set up wellness clinics that are really focused on longevity and wellness, and not just trying to treat sick care. We use the BEMER device, the BEMER, bioelectromagnetic energy regulator. The reason we use that particular device is because of the FDA class 2 approval. It's an NGX class 2 medical device, so that's why we have that in the Brim Wellness Centers. Not every PEMF is able to have that classification. It's important to Brim Wellness because we are billing insurance for those sessions. By the way, gentlemen, we have over 1,000 on the live here, so 1,100 and some odd folks that are following the conversation today on TikTok Live. Please put your questions in here. I'll try to get to them, but thank you for joining everyone that's been here. Other questions in the chat on Zoom. If you're with us on Zoom, please put those in the chat. Otherwise,
Breck, there is another question there about side effects. Like, are there any known side effects of a PEMF? And I would say the major side effect from PEMF is the benefit you get.
Yeah.
I mean, side effects everywhere. It affects the whole body, but there's really no detrimental side effects, which is great. So it's 100% safe. No problems with it. It's wonderful. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
And also, I also want to say one more thing. I just want to give my personal link. If somebody wants to get a hold of me, they can look at drbobtalks.com, and it's got all my background and contact information. That's dr like Dr. drbobtalks.com. And also there's another device that I think it's fantastic that Brim Wellness has the BEMER mat in those because of the class 2 designation by the FDA. It's fabulous. If somebody is not needing to have that class 2 affiliation, there's another mat that Tim deals with, which is the Centropics mat, and that's another device to look into, and Tim can help you do that as well.
Yeah, I've got a relationship with some folks that rely on that one. But what I will say on both, on one part, I try to take that on both. Let's talk about the devices and the side effects as well. So on the devices, what I always do say, it is good to research the devices, because all true PEMF is good and has benefits, but they're not all the same. Without getting too much into detail, your body responds to certain signals. There are four different types of signals that fall into the PEMF category. So which one are you dealing with? There are devices that have patents on it around their signals, so therefore they can't be duplicated. And so you have to understand the research and what's been developed around each one of those. And as we talk to the side effects, good PEMF, there really haven't been any adverse side effects reported. So meaning, what do you have, and why do I say adverse? It's not really semantics, sometimes, we talked about how quickly and how fast that you can get, Breck alluded to, getting metabolic waste out of the system. Sometimes you can get that metabolic waste out of the system faster than the kidneys and can flush them out of the system, so that you can't get a little nausea. Are you damaging yourself? No. So things of that nature do occur sometimes with PEMF, but it's nothing damaging to your system. There are, but the same side that people didn't ask you, when do you want to avoid PEMF? There's becoming a consensus around. So I wouldn't want somebody to rush out and buy one and put it in. Hopefully they would talk to whoever they're working with or going to provider. But if there's implanted devices, not joints and things of that nature, it's devices that do things for the body, like insulin pumps, pain medication pumps. You don't really want to use PEMF with that, because it's been sometimes the signal can interfere with those. Have been shown to shut them off. Now they should have, most of them, if they're built correctly, should have as I was talking to one doctor, I said, yes, that can sometimes happen with the MRI, but it should be able to reboot on itself. So therefore, it should happen, but you want to avoid that. If you've had an organ transplant, you're on immunosuppressive drugs, because one very key thing we didn't touch upon is that these PEMF devices, what they do in the blood flow and what that enables in the other regulatory systems, improve your immune system. And so there's some thought that it might be an added factor in organ rejection if you use it on that. So there are some things to stay away from it. But very, very, very few areas that say you should stay away from it. The active implants, the organ transplants, things of that nature, and really no adverse side effects. And in some of these 25, 30 years of usage, even in the more recent ones, no adverse side effects reported with them. I think, Philomena, you had a question. If you want to come off mute and ask it, feel free to.
I am particularly interested in the nutrition part. So when you prescribe or tell them to buy the PEMF, and by the way, does PEMF stand for pulse electromagnetic frequency? Is that what it is? Okay, great.
Almost.
It's not pulse electromagnetic frequency?
Field. When you hear both.
Pulse electromagnetic field.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm looking at the nutrition part. So when you tell them, those of you that have used it with your client, did you ever help them with eating healthy? Did you ever support them?
Oh yeah, I do. As part of it, for me, it depends. If they ask and they want to, Philomena, yes. What I do, I understand more behind your question there. Part of what I do is, as I mentioned, is a wellness plan manager. Wellness plan manager, for sake of simplicity, think about like someone would hire a general contractor to build a home for them, oversee the electrician, the plumber, and coordinate. That's what I do for people on the wellness plan management. As part of that and helping them achieve their overall objectives, yes, we will look at the diet. What is the right diet? Sometimes it can be disease driven. It can be diet. We talked a little about longevity. If you really, really want the best odds of longevity, then that's really one type of diet I recommend you really be on. If you say, I just want to be healthy but still enjoy some red meat, then that's a different thing. But simple answer, yes, Philomena, based upon somebody's objectives, we'll help them on the actual diet. And that's what got me into that wellness plan management, is kind of just sort of your question. I was working with some retired athletes, telling them about all these wonderful benefits. And some of them said, well, Tim, I'm 65 years old. I haven't changed my diet since I was 30. What's the right way for me to eat? You're telling me this helps people exercise more. Well, I've had a laminectomy and had part of my back removed. I can barely do any exercise right now. So how do I start, type of thing? So yes, Philomena.
Yeah, because I think that is also very important. Because if the microcirculation is circulating, and there are no correct healthy nutrients to be circulated around the body, I really don't think that the PEMF would do its work completely.
No, and it might even and it might even hurt you, because if you're putting junk in your body and you're pumping that around better, that junk is getting distributed better too. So yes, cleaning up a little bit will help. Is that part of your work, Philomena?
Yeah, that is part of my work, because nutrition is 80% of your health. What you eat and don't eat is 80% of your health before any other thing.
Yeah, I think every one of us touch on that, Philomena, in all that we do is it's so important, right, to have a healthy diet. One of the key things that we do through the wellness centers is look at 118 different blood markers. We can actually identify deficiencies that particular patient has and make those corrections. So excellent. We've got another hand up. You see that?
Diane.
Yes, thank you. There are so many different types of energy healing modalities coming out now. There's the EEF and the PEMF and the elemental P and the laser infrared lights and I think probably they all have their benefits. And it's not limited to, of course, you all know it's not limited just to energy. There's other modalities as well. And it's wonderful. I'm excited to be alive at this time of life when people are starting to really understand that Big Pharma hasn't been our friend in every case, and that there are other ways to do things. That I agree with Philomena that our nutrition, hydration is a huge part of that. But without going down the rabbit hole for each and every one of these systems, whether it's a wand or a mat or a this or a that, I mean, can you help target people with a device and why? And then I've also heard that these types of energy zap parasites too, that there are certain types of them that zap parasites. Can you address that if that works for you?
That's a new one on me. I haven't seen a study on that. Be interesting to do some little investigation there.
Yeah, there. Before I jump off, I have to jump, but can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Bob.
Okay. Yeah, there are devices that can knock out parasites, and they're very interesting, and a lot of people will swear by them. I've not personally used them, but I know people who have and gotten great results. So it's just a matter of doing your homework, doing your due diligence, checking it out, seeing if there's any studies on it, seeing who's used it. Check out the testimonials, check out the practitioners, but definitely from a elimination of parasitic microorganisms, it can be this machines can be valuable.
Question for you though, Bob. Were those PEMF devices?
No, they're not PEMF.
Right.
They're not PEMF devices. Right? It's a different strategy.
Is that like licking your fingers and sticking them in a light socket, or
that's the cheapest way to do it, I can tell you.
Yeah, that'll wipe out parasites and other things too. Yeah, so.
That's right.
Yep. So Diane, for your question on that's why I was kind of searching around, say that like Brett, have I seen anything in PEMF or come? I have not.
Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I've not seen anything study-wise or anecdotally wise, Diane, on PEMF specifically zapping any parasites. Right? Can it support your body and other things and helping to fight it? Yes, but is it in itself going to wipe them out? Not that I'm aware of. In terms of pointing, what I have, one, I want to stay, we did mention a couple of devices here on the discussion, but I like to stay away from devices in the public forum from the standpoint of the FDA. Once you start getting into specific devices, then the FDA really wants you to have proven that those specific devices have done specific things and disease states. And I find it so important to understand that PEMF can help in disease states so the FDA doesn't really stop you in question in general, that something in that category of PEMF could help you with disease states. So that's one of the reasons I stay away from specific devices. And yes, I do have, my favorite what I do, and if that's not appropriate, I do have a relationship that I can refer people to a colleague, and they can help them out another one. But so what I advocate I have a advisor that often beats me up on this path, but what I'll advocate, one, you can certainly reach out to me, talk to me about your specific situation. You got my emails in the chat. For those who aren't by chat, it's tim@wellnesswaveclub.com. Happy to engage with you in a one-on-one discussion to kind of see what's tailored for you specifically. But then in the D, that's why I said, have people research. You can, and unlike there are some things you put out there, people say, stop, don't Google this, don't Google that, because there's false information. All I say about PEMF out there is Google to your heart's content. Just do a good job. Don't stop when you hear someone say this is snake oil, because you'll hear 15 others come back and say, hey, no, I had some great results with this. And so if you continue to look at it, you continue to dig, you will find those things I started out with. You'll find the science behind PEMF. You'll find the studies, like I said, over 800 on PubMed.gov. If you go out to Google Scholar, you'll find many more that were done, maybe not in accordance with that complete gold standard, but a silver standard on that. If you go and look at testimonials that people that really have no reason to be giving those, that don't have a stake in the game, you'll see that. So just keep digging, and verifying, and you'll see. You'll also the good devices will pop up to you, through that, and certainly come to me, come to Breck at any time for guidance and thoughts and questions on those as well. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead, Breck.
I'm not quite as politically correct as Tim is, because it's pretty simple for us. We have to be able to bill insurance, and so the device has to have that class 2 classification. It has to be an NGX medical device, so that we can actually bill insurance. So we do get pretty specific on what we can and cannot use in the wellness centers.
Right.
Philomena,
No, I appreciate that.
Thank you for being so patient. Philomena's got her hand up again.
Yep. You're on mute, Philomena.
Did you say that you have a lab where you do some testing in order to see what people need from their blood test results or something like that?
Yeah. So it's simply looking at deficiencies, right? But now also incorporating artificial intelligence. You know how everybody's on the AI bandwagon now. We can actually use our AI or artificial intelligence to look at those specific deficiencies in somebody's lab work, and we can predict disease before it becomes a disease. So a very proactive way of helping patients, make changes to their diet, make changes to their lifestyle before they have a full-blown disease. The easiest ones to explain would be like heart disease or diabetes. We can predict, diabetes before it becomes diabetes and make corrections dietarily rather than having to go on a medication.
Thank you. So what do you talk weekly? Do you just select a topic? Like today you talk about PEMF. So what are you planning to talk next week?
Well, Breck, did you want to answer that? Or
Yeah. So we have a Facebook group that we invite people to participate in. It's the Healthcare Disruptors WellWaveNOW group, and we take suggestions there on topics that people want to hear about. We started off by taking when people join the group, they kind of tell us where they're at on their wellness spectrum, right? They tell us whether they're dealing with a particular chronic issue, or if they just want more information about drug side effects or what have you. And the majority of people had 2 areas of focus that we started out with. So when we launched this weekly, interactive podcast, we kind of focused on those areas of where we could reach the most people in the group. We have not done a specific, I think this is probably your follow-up question. We have not done a specific week on just nutrition yet. So that is to come. I think diabetes is coming up soon, if not next week, but soon. We'll be talking about that. Obviously, that'll have a lot to do with nutrition. We need to get back to anxiety. That's a really big topic these days. And so we'll get back to that as well. For those that are following and listening here on the TikTok live, Tim can also be found there as well. I encourage you to look at Tim, TIM _, and it's what is it?
Well, I think it might have, I just got on there, but so it's either Wellness Wave Club or truncated it and put Wellness Wave C on there, but it's
Wellness Wave Club. You're right. So it's Tim _ Wellness Wave Club is how you can find Tim on TikTok as well. I just want to get that.
And I want to bring Marina. She's got her hand up here, but Philomena, as Marina comes on, I want to encourage you we enjoyed having you. I encourage you to come back. That guidance on topics. We want to serve our community well, and I want people like you to speak up and say we want to hear about diet and tell us other things. But also each week, if we want to help you, we also want to help you get your message out, because as long as your message is good, Philomena, we want to help get that message out, because that's part about helping the people achieve that wellness and give you a forum to help articulate, speak, join in on us. And if you come enough, we'll have you come on as a guest speaker and really feature you, Philomena, one week. How about that?
Nice. But I like healthcare disrupt. I like that phrase. I like that sentence, because I am a proponent of that.
All right.
So so I'm happy.
Yes. Bring some friends next week, Philomena, too.
I will talk to them. Yes.
All right, appreciate it. Sorry, Marina, for the delay in getting to you, but please come on and ask your question.
No problem. Yep, I'm here. Breck, you mentioned billing insurance for the device, and I'm just curious to hear a bit more on the coverage of it. I just did like a quick Google search. And just from what I'm seeing at the top here is that maybe some insurances are covering it for like wound healing or pressure ulcers. But like, what about beyond that? And just like in general, how accessible is it to most people?
Yeah, really great question. Appreciate you asking. What's interesting is when the device that we use in the BRIM clinics, or BRIM Wellness, when they first got their classification, their class 2 classification, CMS or Medicare, Medicaid went ahead and assigned them a CPT code, but then not enough providers were using the CPT code, and so it went dormant. So we actually bill for the provider's time, similarly to what the physical therapists would do. So physical therapists uses electric stim or PEMF in their recovery process, but they're always going to bill for their manual manipulation than they are for electric stim. And so that's what they're doing, and we've adopted that same practice until we have enough providers submitting CPT codes to the payers for the specific PEMF device that we use.
Okay. So then as far as like having one at home for longer term use, I imagine cost is probably the biggest barrier to access.
Yeah, certainly. This is Tim, Marina, Stevie. What I would say, that was a tough question, right? You hear me hesitate, is because cost is different for everybody, right? So for some people, $10 is tough. What I will say, you can find decent PEMF devices anywhere, configurations from $3,500 up to over $6,000 if you put in some of the red light and blue light therapy that can accompany it. So that's an impediment for some people. Not an insignificant number, but for others, they look at it, even for themselves, you spend much more on that on the car to get around. I spend that on myself. If you look at people that have partners, spouses, families, and saying, you know, 5,500 to really help my whole family live and perform better, it's you know, it's not, and it can be a good investment, but certainly it's not, you know, it's I used to say it's not a trip to McDonald's, but at McDonald's now it's 15, like you can spend $15 at McDonald's now for lunch.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, it's not cheap, but it's
Right.
well worth the investment if one can afford it. And there are ways to help people, help more and more people be able to afford it.
Right, yeah, especially if it helps you come off medications, right? I would imagine the total cost of care would go down as a
Right.
result. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. So you're absolutely right there on the medication. If it can, and people, and that's not unrealistic. People have worked with their physicians to come to reduce the medication and come off some in some cases. Absolutely. Yeah. Then you look at what it can do for your mental performance and other things to make you more productive and efficient. It certainly can. That's the soft side to help you produce more. And even on the health side, if you look at it, you know, most healthcare plans these days are, you know, you still got to deduct that deductible of $1,000. You know, I don't speak for every plan, but many plans. You've got a deductible of thousands you've got to reach. You've got then still a 30% 20 to 30% copay you got to pay with that. If you can bring that down, you know, those down, you know, absolutely it'll pay for itself.
Absolutely. Hey, one more time, save the chat if you want the contact information that was provided there. The three little dots to the right of your emojis there will allow you to save the chat. I've put a health risk assessment in there. It's totally free. This is part of my independent pharmacy provider network. They're the network that we put the BRIM wellness in. And this is just a total free health risk assessment. If you can respond to those first 5 or 6 questions appropriately, it'll literally add a decade to your life. If you cannot respond to those in the appropriate manner, then you may need to reach out to us. Please save the chat.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And if you did enjoy this, found some benefit of it, 1, let us know that. 2, help us make it better for the community. 3, you know, bring others back and help us grow this and help us bring that wellness that we want, you know, to a larger and larger audience. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you being here. And next week, same time, 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern. Please join us. This will be a weekly event, the WellWaveNOW health and wellness discussion. And we'll be live on social media as well as a Zoom event like we did today. So thanks again for being here, everyone. See you next week.